Good evening, everybody, and welcome to ATL Falcons UK. What a week that we've all been through. It felt like we were taking our time, going through a process, looking for the next head coach of our franchise since Arthur Smith so gracefully departed. And here we are again. New beginnings again. Talk about our new head coach. Some incomings and outgoings on the coaching front. Coordinators, and feels like a bit of a revolving door this time of year. And everything else that we've got in the locker to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
So, Danny. What's first on the agenda? I guess it's got to be the main story, right?
Yeah, let's go for Raheem. Let's go for it. I'd just like to defend us all to start with. Liam did mention it back in December, and we all kind of passed it off. We had some comments on Twitter saying, "Oh, but you're all against it. You're all against it. You're all against it. This, that, and the other." And I kind of want to balance it out a little bit. Some people were saying you hated the idea. Not you, just us hated the idea. No, we didn't hate the idea. My argument was that our history hasn't been good enough to have too much of an emotional connection to anyone that's previously been there. And I stand by that. Like, I am satisfied that we've got Raheem. Yeah, he might not be as glamorous and blingy as some of the other options that are available, but I'm happy, and I'll back him to the end. Yeah. So, I didn't hate the idea. I just thought it was one of the lower key decisions, but now it's done. It's done. Satisfied.
I was trying to argue his case for the job in a half-hearted kind of way. Like, I wasn't exactly saying he's my number one candidate or anything, but I saw the potential of him getting another shot. He's been here before, that sort of stuff. That was kind of his link to us. But ultimately, I wouldn't. I'm not going to say he was my first choice or even second choice. But
no,
I don't. It certainly wasn't. I don't think we were negative about the idea as if he's not a bad coach. It was more because we've had him before. That's the thing, isn't it? Like, some people don't like to go back over old ground.
The usual suspects were quick to bring me up, saying that I'd said this before and I'd said that before, and even going so soon back as this season. I guess at the time it was kind of really sort of in and amongst that time when the Rams were doing okay, offense is certainly better offensively than defensively. But I hold my hands up, and I was very much in the camp, and still am, of anybody but Bill Belichick, and I'll argue until the ends of the earth that would have been a catastrophic hire, and I think we were so desperate back in the Dan Quinn days of. This is horrible. We just want a completely fresh start. And like Raheem, unfortunately, kind of certainly in my mind, and this was back in a time where, I kind of hold my hands up. Look, guys, I've nerded up about football and about coaches a lot more now than when we're talking about sort of 3 years ago when we were in that sort of Dan Quinn era, right? And I think, especially of all of the stuff I've been reading, the stuff that I've been watching over, the past week or past couple of days, should I say, that it has been since the Raheem Morris hire. I'm heavily optimistic anyway, but I'm all in on the guy. Everybody in the NFL world has not got a bad word to say about this guy. The Rams are everybody in that Rams building is absolutely screaming for this guy to get a head coach job. We've seen the likes of Jalen Ramsey come out. We've seen so many people in football who know this guy, who know he's a good coach. And I guess your approach as an interim is always probably going to be different to how it is if you're the main guy. People bringing up his Bucks records. We're going back, what was it,
10 years,
13 years ago or something.
Yeah.
I think that's a really obtuse way to look at it. I'm holding my hands up. I think the guy's worth a shot. Would I have preferred an offensive-minded head coach? Yeah, I make no bones about it. I was high on Slowick. I was high on Johnson. But we've got a Super Bowl winning coach. And you can't get away from that. And right now, what we need is a bit of juice. We need a bit of positivity, a bit about the place. We need somebody to put their arms around Bijan. We need someone to put their arms around Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and go, "You're my guy, and we're going to make this work." And all of the old footage that I'm now seeing, which didn't really feel like it got cascaded before, him kind of in the locker room, and the videos of him just sort of on the sideline, just sort of vibing with the players. It different gravy, and I feel like it's what our franchise needs right now. And I just pray that we make some good coaching hires off the back of it, and we just give this guy a shot, because let's face it, we've given Arthur Smith 3 years. What's as much as I don't want to be having the same conversation in 3 years' time, what's the worst that could happen? And I would say it doesn't really feel like it could get worse. I mean, I touch wood when I say that, but yeah, I just wanted to address the fact that I'm sure somebody would pipe up and go, "Oh, well, Mark, remember this tweet from 2019? Like, go away, leave me alone."
Yeah, absolutely. Go on, Liam, take the stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like we said, it's not the sexy hire or anything like that, but I think he's coming in to do, like what I said in the chat, a head coaching role, which for me is just about that, bringing people together, sort of like blending the whole thing together. Like, there's some head coaches out there which are obviously very much involved in play calling and all that sort of stuff, and some that are less so. Like, just because we're bringing him in doesn't mean he's going to start leading the offense or even the defense. Like, he might not do either. He might just contribute to big plays and chip in. And, we don't know exactly what role he's going to play. I would imagine that, with who we brought in at offensive coordinator, he's probably, he knows him mostly very well. He's probably going to leave the reins very much up to him. So, and then defensive, we know he's got that experience. So, he will probably be involved in that. But ultimately, what seems to be his positive side is, the people side of it, personnel management, bringing people together, inspiring people, and that's a big part of it. Like, I don't want to say the word prima donnas, but I think the modern players nowadays, certainly compared to when I started tuning into the sport, they've certainly got a lot more power nowadays, and certainly not to throw the toys out the pram and things like that to get what they want, and holding out for contracts and talking against coaches and against other players. All sorts of stuff goes on. I don't really feel like he's a guy that many people would do that to. Like, he commands a lot of respect in the dressing room from what other players have been saying about him. So, and coaches. So I think that's a good sign for sort of the vibe around it. I know you can't win games at 5, but I think he's got enough experience and in different areas of football that if he can inspire the people around him to do their jobs, that's kind of what the head coach is all about. And I think that's what he hopefully he's going to bring to us. He might not be the creative mind that we would have wanted, but if we've got one at the coordinator position, especially on the offense, that's what everybody really wants. Like I said, everybody wanted Ben Johnson and Slowick. The reason why they wanted him, because of the jobs that they do at offensive coordinator. We didn't want them because of the job they were doing at head coach, because they weren't head coaches.
Exactly. Yeah.
We want so if we can bring in Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator, we get the same product. Is what the Lions had. Like, we weren't after Dan Campbell, were we? So like we were after the coordinator. So it shows how important that role can be if everybody's plugging for somebody who's got that offensive mind. Maybe we've got that in our new. We'll see. But in terms of Raheem, I think it's I call it a safe, smart hire with upside on personnel. Maybe not as flamboyant as some people would have liked.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess, right. We want to see some real progression, right? That's what this past year was supposed to be for. It was supposed to be, this is the time, we're out of cap hell, we made some, big money signings, and arguably, most of them sort of big money signings were on the defense, right? So even if he is gonna call plays as a defensive coordinator, he's got some dogs out there to work with, and people seem to forget, Troy Anderson was out all year. Landman was this kind of sort of undrafted free agent, XFL or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever it was.
What it is, I can never forget. Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell, the list goes on. And we look back at the Rams season this season, and all the defense, and you could argue certainly that the defensive pieces that the Rams had were, not going to get you a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
He had 3rd round rookies this year.
Yeah, the secondary was absolutely
like studs. And there was, and I just can't help but think that even if he is going to call plays on defense, and that obviously remains to be seen. We've got a defensive unit there.
Yeah.
All like in contract or on rookie deals or whatever. I think it's only AJ that's up for contract this year, or is it 5th year option? 5th year option it must be.
I feel like it was a few weeks ago.
but like so my point is that defense is stacked. So he's got pieces to work with on that defense. We need to address the pass rush. We know that. I mean, lads, how long have we been saying it, right? But at the same time, if that then becomes an area that we can again go out and spend some money on, then in theory, we've got personnel on that defense to actually make a good goal. And I kind of want to take a minute to go. Ryan Nielsen did a great job, and I know I don't want to veer off too much because I know we're going to go into coordinators and stuff in a minute. But Ryan Nielsen did a great job, and I was sad to see him go to Jacksonville. Of course, I was. But I think at times last season, although the defense was good, there was also times last season, and there were injuries. So I'll kind of take that one on the chin, where they were not good. So there is room to improve on that defense as well, I think. So and a defense, a defensive coordinator who won the Super Bowl is kind of the guy you want in that situation when you've got pieces to, potentially make a run at it. You could argue, and I would make the argument, I think we had better players on defense on our unit than the Lions had. The Lions just kept outscoring people. And that was, that was the key to their success, and ultimately, unfortunately, the key to their demise, because we were all Lions last night, whether anyone likes to admit it or not. So
we were. We were.
So I think if you look at someone like the Lions and you look to emulate that, then you wouldn't go far wrong. Ben Johnson, of course, I think he was high on everyone's list, and I'm sure he'll probably end up getting the Washington job, if I'm honest. But again, we go back to this head coaching conversation. What are people expecting from these first-time coordinators? Ben Johnson's been an OC for a couple of years. Bobby Slowick, this was his first year as an OC, and it's one of them things, right, where you go, but how much of that was him, and how much of it was CJ Stroud just being absolutely awesome? And that's kind of the conversations I've almost had to have with myself this week. Of you can't be that disappointed because that other alternative is a complete unknown. At least now you've got a guy with head coaching experience that can look back on maybe what went wrong during his times as a head coach and then adjust to that. And so it's very much a case of, if Washington come out next year and they're awful again, and they go and get the quarterback and they go and spend all of their draft capital and all of their cap space, if that falls on its arse, then maybe we're having a different conversation in a year's time.
Very possibly. I think that's where everybody's. We've been I, because I mainly run the Twitter, but I've been criticised a little bit for shooting people's opinions down and the heavy negativity. But everybody's opinions are based on just nothing. Like it's all hypothetical and make believe at the moment, and that's what's annoying me. That the hiring of Raheem is no different to hiring any other person that's been a coordinator for the last season. Raheem's got more experience. It might not be as spicy, but he's got more experience in the league. He's had a wider range of jobs. You'd argue he's got a better association with players because of the duration of time he's been in the league.
Yeah.
So
not many coordinators have coached on both sides of the ball either.
Exactly.
That's the other thing you remember.
And that's what's annoying me. The writing him off before he's even had his interview is bonkers. You've not even heard his pitch, let alone seen anything that he can do. So I just think that everybody needs to settle, look around a little bit. Ben Johnson could go somewhere and he could just absolutely implode. It's all opinion based.
And it could be awesome. And look, if he is, great. This is what the NFL is all about. Like, teams go in cycles most of the time, unless you've drafted Patrick Mahomes.
And then you just win forever, but that's fine.
I believe went to the same lawyers to sign his contract with the devil that Brady went to. So it's I get both sides of the coin, and I understand that. I think what really just makes me close Twitter instantly when I say it is, I'm not watching this team anymore. This is, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just kind of like, dude, not being funny, but I wouldn't have said you were, we can't say it because we don't live in Atlanta, right? But, these guys who are like, I doubt you had season tickets anyway, bro, because if you have, you haven't been turning up to the games. And that's the juice we need. We need back in the Bens, right? We need a culture builder. People talk when Harbaugh was talked about, and look, I think he was high on everyone's list, right? But because he's a program builder, and he is. But once he's built that program, he's also a chuffing nightmare, and it's well documented. So there's every chance that in 3 years' time, Chargers might be like, oh God, we just need to get rid of this dude. Like, he's just a pain in the ass. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is there are pros and cons to every option that we could have taken. Yeah. And ultimately, we went with somebody who knows how to build a culture, already knows the owner, already knows the city, is passionate about the city. Like that is so far removed from kind of where we've been over the past 3 years with Arthur Smith, when it was just like, this dude doesn't want to talk to the media, he doesn't want to talk to anybody, he wants to talk to Pat McAfee. Do you know what I mean? And that's only, and that's terrifying, because up until it all started going wrong, Pat McAfee was like, Arthur Smith, he's this really kind of cool sort of, and when that's the only place that you're really getting a good feel of who your coach is, then
something's not right.
Then what's the culture like in the building?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? When he only wants to talk to his white boy chums on a podcast. Right?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
But when you're talking to reporters who represent the city, who know the city, and you just kind of give them one-word answers and talking about, I know fantasy football supporters. No, it's not about fantasy football. It's about the people who you're trying to sell tickets to. And I just can't help but feel like Raheem at least has a much deeper connection to our adopted city than the last regime ever had. So
nice little pause you put in there.
Yeah. I see both sides of the coin, but you got to at least give the dude a season.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And he's already started slowly implementing his coaching staff around him. So I think we can, unless Liam's got anything extra to add, move on to Robinson a little bit.
No, if we move on to that.
Yeah, I'll let you start on it though, because I know you were high on Robinson in the chat before we'd announced it. Matt, thank you again for watching every single week. I'd lean to agree. We didn't necessarily get what we wanted on paper, but like we said, he's our man now, so we're going to stick to it. And like you two said earlier on in the show, if your OC comes in and starts doing the business, then you don't need a Ben Johnson, because you have a Ben Johnson and a Raheem Morris. So there we go. There we go. So Liam, hit me. Robinson, what are you thinking?
I mean, I think he was one of the guys in demand for a reason. I think that's pretty clear.
In demand with a lot of teams as well.
Exactly. Yeah, there was. And I watched a decent amount of the Rams this season. And one thing I noticed about them is that they got guys open with creativity, and that's kind of what we were lacking last season. That was exactly it. Like, I think I mentioned it in the messages that obviously Kupp is like one of the sort of the top 5 receiver in the league, but I don't think he was ever 100% healthy this season at all. He was pretty efficient. Obviously, he played at times, but I don't know if he was ever. We know what he's done previous years, and he was obviously absolutely lethal, but he was never that lethal this season just because of health issues. Yeah. So they had to look at the next guys, and obviously Nakua was a mid-round sort of draft pick, wasn't he? And just
I think he was a 4th rounder.
It's a 3rd or 4th, something like that. Yeah, that sounds right. And the rest of the guys are, Tyler Higbee's like just solid tight end, and some of the other players are just okay wide receivers, but they put up a pretty efficient passing performance throughout the season. And another thing that they obviously did was use the running backs in the pass game at the backfield, which was just absolutely phenomenally done this season. We have another guy who, like Karen Williams, who didn't really have the reputation to do what he did. So he's basically, I know it's not all him, but if you're going to look at his offensive weapons, you've got Stafford, who most people would say is on the way out. I think you would say, in terms of his, I wouldn't say he's at his peak. He's playing well enough. But then the rest of the guys, when you take Kupp out of it, you probably think, oh well, they can't be a good offense, but they did. They got to the playoffs. Like we said, Raheem did a good job with what he had on defense, which was basically Aaron Donald and a lot of nobodies. That's essentially what the defense was. So the offense had to be good, and it was good enough to get them to the playoffs and play pretty well. So I think that's exactly what we've been asking for. If we could get, we definitely have more weapons than them on offense, minus Kupp, where we'll take him off the board if he's unhealthy. The rest of what he actually worked with this season, we have more than that to work with. In the running back department and in the receiving department. So, if that bodes well for what he could do with this team. If we can get anything like that sort of creativity, Tyler Higbee had another good season, like just doing a great job at tight end with limited athleticism. You think somebody like Pitts, he's far superior athlete. You think what he should be able to do with him, it's good signs. He's got the creativity. He was in demand. Everybody likes him. He's got the connection with Raheem already, so there's kind of that understanding that's going to come into the team. So I think that I can't imagine that there would be anybody that people say, I would have liked such a body way more than him. I can't think of a name that I would have said, oh, absolutely, I'd rather have had him. Like there might have been that in the head coach search, but in the OC search, I don't think we could have probably picked a better name that was out there.
I'll take that. And I think I think one thing, and I don't want to labour too much on this point, but I think because he was certainly one of when we were looking at coordinators who should be promoted to head coaches, there was kind of almost like a quieter conversation going. It was like, right, who are the next kind of coaches that are destined to be OCs or DCs, right?
Yeah.
And he was kind of top of a lot of the conversations that I was seeing around who could be, the kind of the next up and coming OC. And I think the thing for me is, he can't really do a worse job on offense than what we seen last year. I don't think that's possible. And I want to kind of pose a really, really simple question, which I hope is more or less rhetorical. Is, boys, how many games did we lose last year because the offense couldn't fire?
I mean, rhetorical, right. You said, but realistically, a lot, exactly. Most of them.
you would say that there was probably a good at least 4 to 5 of those losses that easily could have been wins if the offense weren't relying on the defense after, another 3 and out or another piss poor drive. And I guess for me, if we can continue to build on those pieces that we've already got on defense and on the secondary level, make that offense go from, late 20th or whatever we were come the end of the season to even, mid-table 15th, then we already win more games.
Yeah.
And we've already got, arguably, I say this, arguably, better weapons than the Rams already had this year and maybe the season before. So all I'm saying is you've got your head coach and your OC who've worked under McVay now for a couple of years. We already know how good of a coach he is. Super Bowl rings, et cetera, et cetera. We've got some guys in the building now that I wouldn't necessarily call it hot property, but I think it speaks volumes that as soon as Raheem Morris was hired, the conversations about Zach were sort of already starting to kick off.
Yeah.
Next day, it was, he's had interviews with, I think it was like Patriots, Saints.
Everyone.
I want to say Bengals, maybe. I mean, I don't mind the Bengals, but, they're two. Allow me. So, I think being in that position where within 2 or 3 days of Raheem landing, he's here. And that to me kind of tells you all you want to know about the faith he's already got in Raheem, right?
Yeah.
So, for me, it's a massive, massive win.
Huge. Well, whilst we've been live as well, whilst we've been sat here, that's why I've been scrolling. News. Yeah, breaking news. TJ Yates, our wide receiver coach, has been moved to quarterback, which would open the hypothetical space of Sanu moving into the wide receiver coaching role that he has already been training for. I'm not trying to sell that he's the man for the job, but he has said he would like an opportunity like that. And the timing is a little bit, there's a little bit of something to that. However, moving Yates over to the quarterback coach seems like a move that should have probably happened mid-season. That seems like everybody's stance at the moment in time. A move that Smith should have done, but didn't really have the aptitude to do mid-season.
Liam, I don't know how you feel about this, but I almost can't judge him as a wide receivers coach because I don't necessarily think that the offensive performance was based on the coaching of wide receivers last year. It was more the god awful scheme that they were in. So I'm because he was the only one that I was kind of like, we've kept him, okay, offensive line coach, banging, really, absolutely 100% wanted that to stay the same. Special teams coordinator, if I remember rightly, who was offered a job by the Patriots and then turned it down, which
running back coach.
Lols. So that to me, again, that these guys already want to stay. Again, like he kind of keeps adding to me that, like usually you kind of see very much I say a fire sale, but you do see like a lot of people jumping ship after, their guy is gone. So I think that's good news for me. I'm not sure about Yates. I'm kind of jury's out on that one, but
of course.
I think Sanu would be interesting. I think he's a good player. Like he was technique wise, he was a good receiver, good hands and stuff like that. He could probably double for quarterback coach if he wanted to. Because he can sling one, can't he, as well?
Yeah, that Wildcat. We all remember that Wildcat play.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not against it. I think the reason that when I hear stuff like that, it makes me cringe is you see people sharing stuff all the time, and it's like, Deion Sanders should be the head coach. Matt Ryan should be the OC. Tony Gonzalez should be the tight ends coach. And they're like, oh, mate, leave me alone, will you? Like it, just because they're good. And listen, I hadn't realized that Sanu had been doing his coaching stuff. I'm not necessarily against it, but
no.
I don't know. It's just got hints of you did well that couple of years. So
I had to say that one. I had to put that out there because he said it himself on socials. He was tweeting all sorts of fan accounts saying, I'm open. So it just seemed like a semi. And obviously they know Raheem knows him and blah, 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 blah. So you don't want too many men, for the sake of it, because then nobody's going to redirect you and you're less likely to give someone legitimate advice if you're too pally with them. I think you do need a few people that are outliers or from outside for a different site and a different overview, but we'll see.
I think it would be a risk. I think if you're coming in Raheem's position, I think you would probably want experienced guys. And I know, before anyone tries to correct me, I know he's got experience of playing the position, but being a wide receiver's coach is, it's a bit of a different box for him. So I love the guy. If it happened, I'd be stoked for him. But again, it's kind of like, well, you need to do your thing now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to predict these things in advance, isn't it? Like the fan inside just goes, go on, just bring the band back together. Yeah. But obviously, you've got to put stuff into practice, haven't you? So we will see. We will see. It does just seem convenient that all of that hype's been discussed, and then all of a sudden there's a little shift from wide receiver to quarterback. So we'll see. Do you want to move on to the defensive side of the ball, or have you got anything else to pitch in before?
Yeah.
No, let's do it.
Perfect. So the DC coach search is DC coach. Wow.
DC
coordinator.
Yeah. You put words in our mouths.
It just sounded backwards. It's still underway. I said to you two the other day, we've interviewed a few people for the head coach position that are probably unlikely to get a head coach role just based off how many jobs are available at the moment. So there's a few of those on the go. The Panthers DC has got a few second interviews scattered about, but failing that, would probably be a safe shout.
He would be. Giro Evero from the Panthers would be 100% my number one choice.
Yeah, no, that's. I think that'd be. I'd be leaning towards it as well. Not even just based on the fact that he's getting head coach interviews, and then because that's a nice bonus, but it was one of the very few reasonably bright spots about their entire season with a dead roster.
He's young and fresh, isn't he? Like he's
exactly
upcomer, as they call him.
And another few names circled about. Sorry, I'm reading these because I could never.
That's all right.
All of
them. I know. D-Led tweeted a little bit earlier that Jimmy Lake, who is assistant head coach at the Rams.
That's not
I think I know the other guy that I've seen is the guy from Cowboys,
Aidan Durd.
Aidan Durd.
Yeah, we just said it the same for no reason.
He was the one that used to be on Dan Quinn's staff originally, wasn't he?
He was on Raheem Morris's staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and worked with him obviously as he was his DC, and then he was his head coach as well. So
yeah,
a little bit of a connection there. But obviously he went with Quinn, so he'd be I think after the Panthers guy, I think he would be the guy that I would lean towards. So he's got that previous connection, and I think he's done. Obviously, it's kind of for somebody who's watching the game like me, it's hard to like judge what he's contributing as opposed to what Quinn's contributing in Dallas and things like that. Like, they obviously had a good defense for the majority of that season, but they have a lot of good players. So but I don't know enough of the coaching coordinating roles to say that what he's doing with that team. Like, he could be heavily involved and he could be absolutely the star of it and Quinn's doing nothing, or it could be the way around. I don't know, but I think he's got enough experience now to become a coordinator, so he'd be interesting option for us.
Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, I think the DC is a bit of a tricky one, like we've both alluded to. I feel like Morris will still have a contribution to that, even though obviously, even though he's going to be head coach and he's going to be the gel this season, I think it'd be backwards for him not to have a contribution when that is like 95% of his career work.
Yeah, and I get that, and I think he's going to need a guy who's going to, because I think one of the good things that we know that he can do and that he's displayed with the Rams is he's very, very good at making adjustments.
Yeah,
and I think I guess as we kind of touched on before, is he getting in a DC that's kind of just going to do the background stuff, like a little bit like Smith had on the offense this year with Ragone, or is he going to bring a DC in and go, no, I'm giving you the reins, and
so sorry boys, cancel all of our last discussion. Carl Dukes on Twitter, sources telling me that Jimmy Lake will be the new Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator. There we go. Okay. So I mean, that's not black and white. It's not come from the top two dogs yet, but Carl Dukes is pretty as reliable as most, and of course that's coming from I assume they'll be going live themselves soon on the radio as well. So he's probably tweeting that as he sat there.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Currently the Rams assistant head coach. He's coached with the Bucks and the Lions from 2006 to 2011 before returning back to college. Former head coach of University of Washington, worked with defensive backs and has called defenses. Great reputation as a teacher and developer of talent. Extensive resume. There we go. Yeah. Cancel our last and excellent timing for these two coaching acquisitions if that comes through.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he was the one who had some issues, should we call it, wasn't it, in Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was, wasn't it?
I believe so.
He fired him because he was like fighting with players and stuff.
Yeah, but that's
that's my guy. That's what I want to see. 100%. Give him a slap.
Yeah. I think he's fired up.
That's my DC right there.
Yeah.
Lock it in. Lock it in, Raheem. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's unbelievable timing. So there we go. Yeah, cancel all of our last. We don't need to know whether he's being a background man or a foreground man.
Maybe he's just put it on ice because we don't know, right? But
no, we don't. But I have no
doubt. I know, because the thing is as well, and listen, as much as I love D-Led, sorry, I know he doesn't watch the show. Like he tweeted that out like an hour ago about how he was a candidate. Could just be somebody, jumping on that. Yeah, mate. Listen,
very possibly. Just a side note as well. Sanu's like one of our tweets whilst we've been live as well, so he might be watching.
Whoa!
So you never know. You never know.
Make it happen, bro. Make it happen.
So I said I'll shoot in the link if your fancy's coming on.
Yes.
You never know. You never know. We're going to be live for a little bit longer.
That'd be an interesting show.
Could you imagine if he just jumped in and be like, "All right, chaps."
Was not prepared for that at all.
I'd have to go and change my jersey. I'm sure I've got one of his upstairs.
I've not got a jersey, but I've got a shit ton of cards because I'm a nerd that collects them. So I'm sure I can dig out my box.
Could you imagine just fangirling while look, Mo, I've got one of your cards. Okay, cool. Well, anyhow, so I guess that kind of rounds off the coaching talk. Done it for now.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh.
Okay, I think this comment that we've got here leads us nicely on.
Oh God, yeah. Tough one, eh?
This could be a can of worms. Okay. Do you mind if I start us off?
Yeah, go
on.
Right. I want two eventualities to happen in the draft. So I think first eventuality, which is probably unlikely, is Patriots go for a vet and choose Marvin Harrison, which I think is possibly. I can't really see anybody between them and us that are in like desperate need of a quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think there may be a possibility that Jaden Daniels might fall to 8. I understand Lane's going to tell me it's unlikely. But I still think if the Pats do pass on him, then you're going to have. You may still have to trade up. There might be somebody who kind of make a call and go, well, you could lose your guy. And at that point, I'm always a big believer in, look, if you think he's your guy, then go get him.
Yeah.
I don't think right now that the Bears trade that number 1 pick. I've been kind of in and out of it for a little while, but I don't think that they turned down taking Caleb Williams. So I think, and that was for me in the top 3, the only real tradable pick. I don't think the Patriots would pick up the phone.
I agree. Yeah.
So that's kind of scenario 1 in my head. Scenario 2 is we trade a second this year and maybe a second next year, potentially for Justin Fields, which I'd be happy with. I know he hasn't had the greatest time in Chicago. I think he's shown flashes of what he can do, but I think also it's no real coincidence that Chicago have been a bin fire for the past 3 years since they drafted him. And I think we use that 8th pick on an edge rusher. I think there's even the possibility that some of the better edge rushers could fall a little bit further back than 8. So you could maybe even trade back a little bit further. So I think you go edge. I think there's a couple of options. The guy from Alabama, name escapes me. Liam, help me out.
Turner.
That's it. Or the guy with the Hawaiian name. I'm so bad with names today. That's the one. I think both of them could fall maybe past the sort of 10-11 marks. And maybe you give the Raiders a call and say if there's anyone you like that you want to go and get. What's the deal? But I think edge rusher, knowing Raheem's kind of defenses, he likes them sort of powerful guys off the edge. So I think there's a possibility there. So they're my kind of 2 draft scenarios that are floating around my head right now.
Do you want to go, Liam, or shall I jump?
I can go if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because obviously, you can talk about which guy you want, but ultimately, like we're in the same position as the guy's picking in some way that we don't know what happens before us for sure. So anything can change sort of on the night or in the lead up to it. I think you've definitely got two different scenarios. I think when Williams goes at 1, or not, is kind of like dictates kind of what happens from there, really, doesn't it? I think if Williams,
we know he's going at 1.
I know, but like it seems like I know he's obviously got this generational talent talk and stuff, but so have a lot of other players, and it doesn't always work. So if the boy even feels enough,
Wilson got drafted at 2.
He did.
I just want you to bear that in mind when you're saying this, like at 2.
Sorry, Mariota. They were talking about generational talent with that guy.
Wow.
Unbelievable player.
You know what I mean? So there's been a few. I think he's got all the tools and stuff, but you never know for sure with anybody, do you? Ultimately, so if they believe in what Fields is doing now, why would they go somewhere else? But like then you've also got if he turns out to be the talent that people think he could be, why did you pass on him? So it's kind of it's difficult, isn't it? If they do go with him, then I think that for me just goes 1, 2, 3 off the board with the 3 main guys. If they don't go with him,
you think Pat's going rookie QB again?
I think so. I don't see why. I feel like if Williams goes at 1, and May goes at 2, which is kind of what people are predicting.
Yeah.
Then I don't think you can pass on the Heisman winner at 3. I just don't think you could do it. Like it just seems like it just seems nuts to do it. I know they could go with the vet, but there's no vets out there that have got enough to warrant going another year into next year's draft. Right, I don't see the point of it when you've got a Heisman winner.
Next year looks like a pretty strong quarterback class.
It does, but you don't know where they're picking, and if you've got a Heisman Trophy winner in front of you, like why would you pass on it? I'd like to see what happens next year. Do you know what I mean?
No,
like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Like I just don't see why they do it. I mean, it's the Patriots. I do not know what
I'm just trying to speak it into existence, Liam.
I'd like it to happen.
Like I did with Bijan last year.
Yeah, I'd like it. And then I think, what happens from there if they don't go with him, then he goes at 2, and then it gets a bit interesting, doesn't it? Kind of further down the draft, because ultimately, that's going to be probably May and Williams are going to go at 2 and 3, maybe, and then it gets interesting because the Cardinals probably not. It doesn't make sense. The Chargers are not going to do it, are they? So,
no.
But I think the Giants. I mean, the Giants will be tickled into it, but I mean, they've just kind of they've give him Jones a 4-year extension with pretty good money, so it'd be hard to get out of that. And then Tennessee, I think, could also be tempted, but they've just got a rookie who looked okay last season. Looked like he's got something to work with.
Yeah,
probably. I don't know. Maybe they would try and shop him and go. I don't know. But then obviously, I think what would probably happen is people will be scrambling to trade up with those teams.
Yeah.
That's what I think people will be. If Jaden Daniels is still there around that 4, 5, 6 mark.
Yeah,
there's got to be calls, and I think that's the only way you get him.
But I would say if he is there, we should be one of the calls.
We should be one of the people calling. Yeah, I think. I think if like I've just said with the Patriots, if a Heisman winner, May, it could be May, but either of them two, if they're sort of still there at that 4, 5, and 6, I think you'd be crazy not to throw something at that.
Yeah.
In the same way, I think the Patriots would be a bit crazy to pass on it. And then if we don't go that, obviously there are other quarterbacks in the talk, but 8's a bit much, isn't it? And then I think ultimately, we probably go with the edge rusher if we don't try and do something for the quarterback route. And I think the 2 guys that you mentioned, Turner and Latu, are probably the 2 names that people will go with. I imagine Turner's probably more to the mold of Raheem Morris. He's got less injury concerns than Latu, but not as explosive, probably maybe not ultimately as talented as last two, but I don't know, he might go with a slightly safer, more engine option in Turner. But if we took either of those guys, I wouldn't be disappointed. No. But we then would be looking at a different route on the quarterback situation.
So in that case, just say we wait until, day 2, second round. Penix, Nix, and McCarthy are your 3 best options. Who are you taking out of them 3?
I mean, on the previous show, I've said Bo Nix, and I'll stick with that.
All right, okay.
He's probably not the sexy pick out of those. Probably Penix is that. But Bo Nix,
he would be my preference out of the 3.
He's a warrior. He's a warrior, and I think he'll do it. I think if he does get a chance in the NFL, I think he will. I'm not saying he's not this talent that some of the other guys are at the 1, 2, and 3 picks, but I think he could be at 2. I don't think it'd be crazy, and I think at second round, I don't think it'd be crazy, and I think he'd be an efficient pick that I think we could get something out of. He's a character as well, so I like the character.
Go on then, Danny.
I've been sat deliberating for all of this time, and I still don't know my answer. I think ultimately for me, it comes down to what the Bears want for as a whole for both Fields or for the first pick. I can't decide what's more expensive. Well, I know what's more expensive. The first pick will be more expensive, but I don't know comparatively how expensive Fields would be.
If you see, this is the problem with the number 1 pick. Wasn't that long ago the Niners traded, what was it, 3 first rounders for Trey Lance?
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
And that's what concerns me a little bit is if we're going to get robbed, as much as I'd love a generational quarterback to come in and have our own man and hypothetically have them for a decade, I don't think we're in a position where I want to just sell our soul. So I'd try and lean towards the Fields route, if I'm completely honest. I think it's that little bit cheaper. It's still might ask for a first though. I know people are more hovering on the seconds and stuff, but it depends because they've got so much pull. They can gain all the capital they want. Really, they'll just go for whatever gets them the most.
Yeah, but I suppose what you have to bear in mind is that he's on his contract year.
Yeah.
And if you go and draft Caleb Williams, well, what's the point in exercising his 5th year?
Yeah. So very true.
So you're kind of in one of those situations where I'd say, and don't get me wrong, some idiot could call Chicago and go, we'll give you a first if they're desperate, and at which point you kind of have to go, okay, we can't outbid that, so maybe it's Atlanta Falcons, let's ride time. I don't know, but and I think the vet market right now, you're looking at what Kirk Cousins.
I've got a list of some options for you. I've not obviously there are more than this, but I've picked out some that I think would be maybe interesting. I'm going to leave Fields off it because obviously we don't know what the situation is with him. But let's see what you would rank some of these. So I think the main ones are Cousins.
Yeah,
is coming off an ACL.
Not for the money that's being reported.
And the amount of money that's being reported is, Danny?
Is 90 million, 45 over split for 2 years. I cannot justify that. I think I'd justify like a third of that, if that. So
right. Well, let's rate them out of 10 for how much you would want to take them. So what we'll go for Cousins.
Like a 3 on that wage, like a 3 or a 4.
Yeah, I'll go 4.
It's big.
He's
money.
got upside, but not for that money.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Joe Flacco.
Fuck. 2.
No. Yeah, nothing. It's not notable.
Like I appreciate the comeback story. I really, really do. But I think I could have done a better job than Deshaun Watson this year. So, like, you know, Geezer was falling asleep on the sideline, Liam. Like, I can't. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then next sort of regular name before I do a couple of wild cards. Baker Mayfield.
I'm not mass. I'd put that more like a mid-level, like 5, maybe even a 6.
I was going to say 6. I genuinely think Baker's a little bit underrated.
Yeah.
And I think he's shown this year that with a good coach, he can still ball. I don't think the Bucs defensive line was great this year. And he obviously, I mean, more through our failure than anything else, but he still kept them competitive. So I'd go 6.
Yeah. I think just based on the fact that he did all right, and we saw a lot of him, like, leans me towards him a little bit. I would, however, if we went for him, still want a pretty high pick quarterback. So obviously you're not going to get your top 3, but that second bundle that you talked about, like Bo Nix and Penix and all of them, so you'd still want one of them as well in the mix.
Yeah. Okay.
Agree.
Then a couple of maybe slightly more, touch and go sort of guys I'll describe him as. Gardner Minshew.
10.
No, I'd be at that sort of 6 range. I think. I mean, I think he did a good job in Indianapolis this year, given the situation he was in. But then again, if you're talking about starters, even if you draft, one of the second round guys, I don't know. I mean, I think if we're going into the season with Gardner Minshew as our starting quarterback, I think eyebrows could well be raised.
Yeah, I think 6.
Actually, no, I'm not going 6. I'm going 5.
I was going to say 4 or 5, probably leaning towards the 4.
Okay. Okay. Jameis Winston.
No. No, like.
And I can't believe that I'm about to say this number and put Joe Flacco above it, but I am. That is an uno for me.
Nice.
He's funny though, isn't he?
He is funny. Yeah. And I think he would, vibe with Raheem quite well, but he's also blind in one eye. And, it's
and then I'll read these 3 out at once so you can see who you prefer if you would go with one of those 3. Tyler Huntley, Sam Darnold, or Jacoby Brissett.
Sam Darnold it is then.
No, they're all a 2. They're all a 1. They're all like a 1.5 for me. Like in that situation, and I'm being serious now. Although it, with that list, you would be better. Like if you're, as Danny said, right, you would still expect them to draft like one of them kind of second round guys. If that's the case, I would probably go and chuck a bit of money at Russell Wilson. Like, for me, I mean, if he's not going to, I mean, if he does want something similar to that number of Kirk Cousins, then, I would just be worried about Kirk Cousins' recent injury.
I think the difference really, and then so obviously some of the guys on the list is, your Kirk Cousins and you Mayfield, if he became available, they're probably going to ask for pretty good money. Like Baker's going to ask for decent money on the basis of his season. Kirk Cousins is already obviously talking about whatever money he's talking about. And your difference with your Sam Darnold and the like. I know we're not going to work out to be cheap as chips, wouldn't they?
I would kind of take it if it was like a Geno Smith kind of deal.
Yeah. Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah, mid like sort of 15 million.
Because I'm sure the way that deal was kind of stacked was it's like 3 years, First year is like 20 odd million, and then the second and third year are niche. So really, you could pay him after this season, worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So that would realistically be the kind of deal that I would want to throw at a Baker. Probably not so much Kirk, because I think Kirk's probably still got a certainly from his past couple of seasons at the Vikings, I think he's probably got some stock that, he could say, well, I could do this, I can do that.
Yeah.
Russell, I think you could probably get away with a Geno Smith deal as well, if I'm honest. Because I really don't think anyone's going to pay him after the mad contract situation in Denver. So, and how glorious would it be if Sean Payton couldn't do anything with Russell Wilson, and then he came to us and balled out? So
it would.
I like that.
So I think what we've concluded here with this conversation, guys, is that
nothing.
There's not a lot of veterans out there
that
are really a real significant option, I don't think. Certainly not for the amount of money that's being touted. If Cousins turned around and said it was a 3-year deal, 40 million, then cool. Yeah. But I'm not high on that for that kind of money, considering, especially with Cousins, his age and that injury.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. He could come back and he could just go again, and then you're down to your second quarterback anyway. So you may as well.
And he's not a mobile QB. Do you know what I mean? Like I watched a video the other day, and it was like Kirk Cousins' best runs, and it was like a 30-second video. There was like 3 of them. And I'm not kidding you, and I'll have to find the video and I'll send you it, right? But the way that man runs, it looks like somebody has rammed a jellyfish up his hoop. Like he just it's so he runs. He just looks so awkward. I'm just not sure that that's
Yeah. I just don't think there's many, if any, of those quarterbacks are a QB1. None of them really make me go, what? I'd feel really confident with them that they'd make us challenge. I'm not saying that we wouldn't be able to. I just don't think that any of them are like, yeah, that's your man, like stand out, worth spending the money on, really.
But let's almost kind of recalibrate, right? Because and I said even towards the end of this season, before anyone jumps on my back, I'm not saying that we should be starting him, but I would like to see Desmond Ridder stay as a backup quarterback, and even if it's just in pre-season, see what he looks like after
I think a little bit.
And I'd like to say, and like to categorically state before somebody clips this, I'm not saying we should start Desmond Ridder. I'm not saying that. But all I'm saying is that he could be a viable backup in a more effective offensive scheme.
Yeah, no. I'm not against that. I'm not against that at all.
I think
also save yourself some dollar as well whilst you're in the process.
Yeah,
so.
It'd be good. And I think we could utilize him a little bit with his legs, like in some sort of gadget run plays. I think he'd be a decent little sort of run option, wouldn't he? At times, if we don't go for a sort of an athletic guy, I think we could bring you on in that scenario. But I think he's shown enough that we're talking about backup level of quarterback.
Massively so.
I think he's shown enough to come on and maybe do a job if you needed to. Like you wouldn't be looking to play him.
But this is my point, right? Say for example, we go into next season with Kirk Cousins, right? And that injury flares up game 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of a sudden, you either put a rookie in, or you put somebody with NFL experience after he's had a bit of more effective coaching. Because let's remember, Desmond Ridder in the NFL has not been coached by anyone other than Arthur Smith.
No.
So
certainly as a backup, I don't think anyone can say that he's not got enough. Like when you look at some of the backups around the league, he'd be in that middle top level pack of backups.
No, I agree. We'll get that clip though. Desmond Ridder QB1, run it back.
You know for a fact that I'm the one that's going to get pelters for it as well, though. So
I know. You started the conversation.
Love
that.
Cool.
We've got a ton of any other business to dip into if you want to, unless we've got any extras.
No, let's whiz through it.
Some of it will end up circling back to the Falcons anyway, so it's all good. It's all good. Mark, I know you love the man, so I think you should read
exactly what you're going to say.
The Bill Belichick section if you would like the honor of taking this one.
Yeah, I mean, I can take it, and and listen, I don't know how viable this account is. So listen, it could just be somebody trying to stir stuff up clicks, and listen, that might be completely the case. But it has been reported from Harrison Chase. And most of his tweets start with speculation around the NFL, which is why it leads me to think that maybe he's just a penis who just tweets things for clicks. But I just kind of want this to be true, if I'm honest. So is that former Patriots head coach Bill Belichick is not happy with the Atlanta Falcons, as he thought he had the head coaching job. But the Falcons decided that they didn't want to give him all the control that he wanted. Well, you fat, horrible, miserable, old dead end. Guess what? We are the only ones that gave you your pity interview. Not even Washington want anything to do with you. So I think that you need to look inside yourself, Bill. And I think that you need to start asking questions about whether or not it's not us, it's you. Because this was like, and precisely the reason that I continue to argue with people.
Everyone.
Yeah, well, I'm still not swearing. About, yes, he, Superbowls, marvelous. Long time ago.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything with Mac Jones. You couldn't do anything with Bailey Zappi. You couldn't draft to save your life. You improved no one.
Yeah.
3 years since Tom Brady left. Nobody. Not one player. And every single player that did do well left.
Yes.
Because you won't pay them because you're stubborn. So in 2 years' time, when it's Kyle Pitts' time to get his contract, and, in the unlikely event that it would have been that he would have made our offense anything other than piss poor, then what? Oh, no, we're not going to pay you that.
Yeah.
We're another draft pick wasted.
Yeah.
So I hope that he's unhappy. I hope he stays miserable for every single day for the rest of his life. Our horrifically just deplorable, just misery that he is. And I'm so glad that he's annoyed with the Atlanta Falcons.
There we go.
There you go. That's my take on it.
It would have been awful of me not to give Mark the stage for that bit. He sent it in our group chat earlier saying, got something for the show. But do you know what? As bait as the tweet itself could be, there will be some truth in it, though, in the grander scheme of things. Maybe not word for word and maybe not from the source, but the fact that he's not received any phone calls about interviews speaks wonders about the NFL now and who he is as a coach and how the game's evolved away from one man controls all sort of franchises. That just isn't a feasible thing anymore. And also the teams that are out there, none of them are close enough to win now.
Yeah.
For him to be a viable option to think, do you know what, should we just go for it? I would not start a brand new project with that man.
The thing is, right, with all the respect in the world, right, not that I'm going to give him very much, but I will repeat, improved nobody.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody. You look at the absolute testicular fortitude of Jim Harbaugh going down to LA, interviewing with other people. He knew the Chargers job was the one he wanted because that was the one that was going to get him the most power. And he did the interviews with us, I believe, to try and gain leverage. And that day when he was in LA and he was like, no, I've got to go. They didn't let him leave the building. Do you know why? Because he got the power he wanted, because he could command it, because he's shown that over the past X amount of years, all he's done is build programs, improve players.
Yeah, exactly. He played their hand perfectly, and you can't.
If
that's the job you want. That's the job you want. If that's where you want to live and the project that you want and the situation you want to drop yourself into, then fair play. Obviously, a little bit of disappointment, but you got to secure your own bag, haven't you? So
100%. And listen, he was on money at Michigan. Like, I think we talked about on the pod. Is he on $9 million or $12 million a year?
$9 million flat with $3 million bonuses that were basically guaranteed as well. Like,
to be fair, I was always a little bit skeptical because the Chargers, like it was the same when Chargers hired Brandon Staley. They were like, oh, we're just going to go for the kind of the cheaper sort of option. Right? I mean, they could have gone after some big name coaches and they didn't.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of knew that this time they couldn't get away with it, which is fine. Like, let him build your program. Like, totally understand it. We needed a really good head coach. We didn't necessarily need a program builder because I genuinely think that now that Rich Mackay is supposedly moved over, we're going to see Terry take the reins a bit more. And I am absolutely like no problem with that at all. Let the man cook.
No, more than satisfied with that.
Yeah.
I think.
Anything you want to add on Bill, Liam?
On Bill? No, I mean, I just don't think this is not a modern day head coach that people sort of want. And it shows really.
It's beyond head coach. That's why though, isn't it? Everybody wants the structure of GM, head coach, OC, DC. Everybody wants that tree now, whereas he just wanted the world.
Yeah, and he just doesn't adapt. Like the players that he had in front of him, like he wouldn't adapt. Like, with Mac Jones, he obviously, he played badly, but at the same time, he never went away from like doing what he wanted to do with him. Like he could have tried to play to Mac Jones' strength, probably made him serviceable at most. Like he probably would have done a job. It would have been better than he was, but he just went, I'm just going to play him like I played Brady, and like I'm just going to stick to it. And if he can't do it, he can't do it.
I know this seems like a really, really weird thing to say, right? But I remember when they drafted Mac Jones, and something that Bill does with rookie QBs is when they train, he makes them wear like this really obscure jersey number, like it's like 55 or something like that, right? Which isn't even a QB number, right? But it's almost as if to go, you're not getting your number until you prove to me that you're worth it, sort of thing. And when you and it's stuff like that where you go, how are you in like this is 2023 now? Do you know what I mean? Like you're not in the world of like the 1980s Bears or something like that, where your QBs are like tough. These are kids, and it's not you're not talking to Joe Namath, you're talking to you could be talking to Caleb Williams, right? Who is quite a sensitive guy. He gets very annoyed when people have a go at him for painting his nails. So it's little things like that where you go like, dude, you're just not cut out for it anymore. Like it's a different world.
Yeah, exactly. So to summarize that little any other business section, we made the right move.
Bill, enjoy retirement, mate.
Very short and sweet one. Not too much discussion, but we can't go without mentioning when the 8 players have a breakdown. We all saw Mr. Thomas's tweet earlier saying, well, if I didn't get set up by a bad ball, I probably would have had a light little 1K yards this year, but could have. I know, I get it. Lol. He's
wow.
He's head's fallen right off. And I just love to see it. I love to see it. I don't have anything to add, but if anybody deserves it, he fucking deserves that. So
bag franchise. Bag franchise.
Exactly. My next little bit, not for the gambling purposes, purely for the odds statistics. Bet Online, which is one of America's large betting sites, blah blah blah, has released all of the odds for next year's Super Bowl winners. Very, very early, might I add.
Wow. Okay.
If you like to hazard a guess where the Falcons fall out of the 32, or 20. Liam, any advances?
I was going to say 16.
Not bad. 14, sitting at 33-1. And by quite a way, the NFC South highest probability. So we've got Saints at 50-1, Bucks at 50-1, Saints at 100-1, and Panthers last place out of everyone at 150-1. So people are at least have us sitting in that mid-table position again, which is tasty. Makes a nice little change. Yeah. Not that it means anything. I'm not at this point, but yeah, far too early. Raheem Morris's introductory press conference is on February the 5th, if you guys haven't caught that yet or anybody's missed that. So, I mean, we'll try and get a show booked in for just after that, give it a day or two to let the dust settle and see what he's had to say. And then, unless you have any other things, a little bit of Super Bowl talk, maybe?
Sure.
A little bit of playoff disappointment for the Lions. Buckled under the pressure, but a fairy tale in their own right, nonetheless. Going in at halftime, that high up, you would have wanted them to.
Yeah, I think the only thing for me is, as I think I kind of mentioned this earlier on the show, their defense hasn't been great all season. No. They've not had that much penetration outside of Aiden Hutchinson, who's had a great season, great pick, and I think that and I don't think it was kind of because of his calls on fourth down. They've been doing that all season. Like you can't ever go at them for that. I think it was just more as much as kind of hate to say it, Shanahan made like went in at halftime, he made changes, he adjusted, and the Lions almost kind of got themselves into a rut where they were like, well, we only know one way, they didn't have a plan B, they didn't know how to adjust in the second half, and kind of credit where it's due, and I've been backing the Niners for the Super Bowl all year. I didn't think it was going to end like that, if I'm honest. No. But kind of fair play. I am gutted for the Lions. Genuinely, I am. I see a lot of talk today about, we're back next year. And you go, oh boys, my sweet summer child. Like take it from somebody who knows, like you can fall from grace. Really
too well.
That playoff run. But I hope I'd love to meet them in the NFC Championship round next year.
Should have won that game. Ultimately, did some bad luck. White cost in that game. Like they would have won it if that whatever that play was that hit off his face and he caught it. And then that fumble, like the next play, those two plays don't happen. They probably win.
And that play, the overthrow by Brock Purdy as well. I'm not sure I've seen it. It literally went over Ayuk.
Yeah, that one hit him in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it bounced off his chest plate.
Yeah, no, he hit him on the top. He went to catch hit off his helmet, and Ayuk caught it. If that doesn't happen,
it's just unlucky, right? Because you get the INT there. I think that's the game.
It was unlucky. They could have won that game, and the 49ers. Like, I think they've obviously it's. You look at that defensive front and stuff; they're just ridiculous. And the best, they got two of the best linebackers.
One thing I will say that I've watched a little bit of film from last night on that game. Nick Bosa, Chase Young, like you've got two of the most terrifying edge rushers there.
Yeah,
and they ain't that terrifying right now. Like I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a 49ers fan. Who plays on my team, and I was, like he was like, bro, we got bent over, like how we came back, I'll never know. He even went to bed at half-time last night. And he's a mad 49. So
I can understand that, but I think I would say that probably the Lions probably have the best O-line in football, or at least one of.
100%.
It was just phenomenal. Like Penny Sewell was just that guy's a monster of a man. Like, and how fast he can move. Like he could shift with balls. Fast Bolster obviously is for his size, like in that spin move and stuff. Like Penny Sewell can shift. Like how the hell is a man
but
play that well?
The thing with it was you dial up the blitz against Goff when he panics.
Yeah, but the 49ers don't blitz.
Yeah, but they had to last night.
Twice last night. Like they just rely on a 4-man rush because they've got the personnel to obviously deliver. They did start to blind back and blitz a little bit towards the end, but obviously their MO is like basically don't blitz. But Goff, he's got a little bit of a. He's just a bit of a gunslinger. And I quite like it. Like he just throws the ball. And it's great to see. But Purdy did a job. Like McCaffrey's going to do his job every single game, isn't he? Basically, so we know that's going to happen. And then Purdy has to deliver. And so far, he keeps pulling it out of the bag with his legs last night. I didn't realize how fast that guy was. He can shift. Like I was quite impressed.
That alone some story as well, though. To credit where credit's due. As much as the Lions is a story, Purdy's own story is
100%. Yeah, and I think he's still got weaknesses in his game that he needs to. But Shanahan's a guy to coach that.
Yeah,
he makes some really big throws and big times, and that's not easy to do under pressure. So he's doing the job.
There we go. Mr. Irrelevant. Moving over to the other game of the night, Ravens and Chiefs. I had the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. As many did actually when we ran a poll. We had some crackers like 65% all backing the Ravens. Just wasn't
playoff
night.
Man.
Playoff Mahomes and different gravy.
It's the Chiefs in general, isn't it?
Mahomes and Lamar just
deliver.
Not being a playoff player.
And I'll be honest right now, watching the 49ers defense struggle against Detroit and struggle against Green Bay.
Yeah. Gonna get blitzed.
Nobody should be counting out the Chiefs now. Like, and I'm still going to ride with the 49ers because it was my pick and they're the only ones left. But I am one thing I will say is this is the, and by the way, I'd like to caveat this with I love Lamar. I think it's brilliant, but I was also in very much agreement that we do not sell the farm for Lamar Jackson when supposedly he was available. He wasn't available.
He was not. But
the Baltimore played that absolutely blindingly. He was never going to be available unless we really sold the farm and the tractor and the farmhouse and the cows and the horses and the chickens and I don't know,
everything.
Cut the trees down and use the trees for toilet paper. Do you know what I mean? Like it was that kind of deal that was going to be the only thing that got Lamar to move. Well, there's your guy. Yeah. And he crumbled in the playoffs. And don't get me wrong, there was some really, really questionable officiating. Like there were pass interference calls that did not get called that should have got called. So if I was a Ravens fan, I would be really,
they were hard done by.
Yeah. But at the same time, I still think the Ravens have a better squad.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt.
So,
I think they're very good team. I mean, Jackson's didn't deliver on the night with his sort of his passing, but I think he's nailed on MVP, isn't he, for the season? So he's obviously had a very good year and shown bags of talent. He just
nothing to show for it.
Just didn't happen when it needed to happen. But that's kind of how that's playoff football, really, isn't it? That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Well, that's why. I mean, I've said it weeks ago. Playoff football is different. Like all form and everything just goes out the window.
You don't have the rush game, right? If you look at all the other teams that were still in that, the Lions have a great rush game. The 49ers have an unbelievable one. The Chiefs have a great one. Yeah. They don't have one to, obviously with Dobbins going down like it does most seasons. They rely on one trick, don't they, really, essentially, which was Jackson. And if he doesn't deliver, they haven't got the secondary thing to rely on. So that was their weakness, and that kind of showed when Jackson wasn't performing. They didn't have anything to carry him. If I was a running
back, you wouldn't sign for the Ravens because they go they go through like 4 a season to ACLs, like season-ending injuries, straight off the bounce.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, I honestly, if I was a running back, I would be like, oh, well, do I want to
I'm done.
Get paid for being on the injury table? Oh, yeah, cool. I'll sign Baltimore. Yeah, but that's, that's really the only advantage that you would go there, really, as a running back. I've lost count of the amount. I mean, I'm sure like last year it was like 4 running backs injured. Like this year, I think it was like 2 out for the season. Like it's just crazy. And, Justice Hill and Gus Edwards did an okay job throughout the season.
Yeah.
But, you're scraping the barrel when that's the case, guys.
Yeah. Similar to the Lions, though, certain points in that game, you just thought it's done. When they had the ball at the inches from being a touchdown and it got punched out, unbelievable play,
phenomenal,
unbelievable play. But 2 more inches, touchdown, different game entirely.
Different game, yeah.
But touch back and then you back up the field, and then every time Lamar came on after that, he looked broken. He threw,
I
aimed for Flowers in triple coverage. I think it was Flowers anyway.
It was Isaiah Likely.
Oh, was it?
Oh yeah.
But very obvious triple coverage. Two literally bang on him, and a man not even 5 yards out of reach. And you just thought, what? I know it's split second decisions, but what have you seen in that second that makes you think that's that's an option? If that was a normal season game, it just wouldn't have happened.
Well,
but he wasn't there.
I caveated this by saying I love the guy and I really, really do.
Yeah.
But he's in real danger for me of becoming, the modern day Dan Marino.
Almost.
They need to learn.
Yeah.
To do it in the playoffs, and it's.
I think they're a run game away from doing it, in my opinion. Like to work with Jackson. Because Jackson's not running the ball like he used to. Like he's not the quality, but they're not asking him to do it as much because he's going to be slowing down a little bit, and he can pass the ball. Like he can do it. Like he's shown that he can do it.
But I think it's very, very telling that he's played all season.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
That's why they do it. To just keep him.
Like we said a lot about him being injury prone. That's probably why.
Yeah, and they should, obviously utilize what he's got in that game, but they're just not doing it as much, which I think makes perfect sense. But then you need a running back to take that strain away from him, and that's kind of what they haven't got.
It's a shame. I would have really liked to have seen a Ravens-Niners Super Bowl, and I've seen a lot of people going, "Oh, this is the Super Bowl none of us wanted." Like, leave me alone. Like, come on now.
Yeah, it'll be a brilliant Super Bowl. Yeah.
The last one was unreal. Mahomes won it on one leg.
Yeah.
And Mahomes isn't as. I think the thing with the Chiefs this year is they've kind of made a rod for their own back, right? Because they've continued the circus around this Taylor Swift stuff. It's kind of almost the Chiefs haven't been about football this year, and then that kind of happens every year. Like the past couple of years, people are moaning about his brother because he's an insufferable twat as well. But I mean, it's one of them. Start making it about the football again. I want to see Mahomes as this magical wizard that sold his soul to the devil that can continue to do this, off the cuff stuff, which is just amazing. And again, there's another absolutely amazing story of Mr. Irrelevant potentially becoming a Super Bowl champion.
Exactly that on its own. Yeah, absolutely. It's backwards. Just so, because we did a poll on it, who are you both? I know you said you keeping your boys with the 49ers because that's who you stuck with. is that you want them to win, or you think they will? You don't think they will, but you want them to because you stuck with them from the start, or?
I just think that, I just think they were the strongest team in the NFC by quite some distance, and
yeah.
I see a lot of people kind of, Shanahan, he lost us the Super Bowl, and I genuinely think he did as well. But you can't have a go at the geezer because he's good at his job. He and everyone makes mistakes, right? And I'll continue to dislike him for it.
Yeah.
But I would like to see somebody else win a Super Bowl other than Mahomes, because then we'll get into, oh, it's dynasty territory, and he's got 3 rings already, and he's going to pass Brady, and I just find it a bit boring.
You're just taking my follow-up question, so I won't ask that either. So, Liam, who are you going with?
I think I've got to go with. I know it's Mahomes and stuff. I think I'm going to go with the 49ers just because the tools that they have, and I feel like it's going to be a case of, if McCaffrey does McCaffrey things, he probably will win. That's about it.
It's weird because it feels a little bit like they're going for the underdogs with the 49ers in my head, but I think that's just because the Chiefs have won recently. Yeah, when we put a poll out, nearly 400 votes, exactly to the vote, a 50-50 split.
Yeah,
which is bonkers, because I thought Chiefs had not run away with it, but have the vast majority of people leaning towards it.
The Chiefs looked stronger against the best team in the AFC, whereas the 49ers, for my money, looked average against Green Bay, who were the 7th seed.
Yeah.
So I think that's the worry. You've always got the worry. You've always kind of got the risk of Mahomes just doing what Mahomes does, right? You can't get away from that. But at the same time, the Niners looked strong all season, and it was only kind of roundabout sort of the latter stages where they've looked defensively frail, which has never really been their MO. And I think looking at a lot of their big time players, they're all getting older. So I think this is 49ers is maybe last shot for a while. So I think there's a lot of storylines in play that could change this. But I'm going to stick with my pick, and I'm going to go.
Yeah, I think we've got the two, probably the two best sort of play callers in the league going at it. With it, which is great to see. Like, everyone wants us to create exciting plays, and we're probably going to get a ton of them. So that's what everybody wants. So I think it'll be great. I hope it lives up to the expectation. Like, I think ultimately, I think it's probably the better. I don't know why. I feel like it would have been a bit more if it was Ravens and 49ers, a bit more safe. I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like the Chiefs are just going to pull something out.
Give me an interview with Andy Reid, then show me Taylor Swift jumping around like a moron in the stand. I get it. Pop culture. She's a biggest pop star in the world. Blah blah blah. Right? Okay, it's football. Like, give it a fucking miss.
Clicks and business is business, unfortunately, isn't it? So that's just the world we've stumbled into.
I don't think we're kind of getting a decent halftime show. But then again, I'm very much of the opinion that they'll never top LA. So
no, I agree. I don't think there's anything wrong with Usher. I just think it's just Usher, innit? Like, they've done all these spectacles with multiple people.
Isn't he doing it with Post Malone as well, I think?
Oh, is he? I don't know. I don't know. It's not my type of music anyway, so I'm not too. But obviously, I know I'm than that, but not that my type of music. So
maybe Taylor Swift will do it.
There we go. Exactly.
Come out and do it.
Don't get me started, because there's drama and you can make it and all that stuff. But I've just seen Mark's eyes roll, so I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it. But she's playing in Japan the day before on the 10th. So
tell her to stay there.
Yeah. I was going to ask it, and then we've kind of already briefly covered it. But we put a poll out as well saying, do you think Mahomes will overtake Brady's ring count? 57% went with yes.
Yeah, I think I'd go yes.
You reckon?
I think if he wins in 2 weeks, it's 100% yes.
Yeah, fair. What is he? 26, something like that.
Yeah,
I think something like that. Is he 26,
27?
Or so?
Yeah, if he wants it. Even more if he really wants it.
As long as Andy Reid's the head coach of that football team, Mahomes has got a chance.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. He's 28.
Oh, he's 28. He's a bit older than I thought, but still,
he's got
years in the tank.
Yeah,
still got plenty of time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, chaps, I think unless either of you have anything extra to add, I am done for the night.
No, I'm good. I think I'm just trying to keep abreast to see if we've got any breaking news.
Yeah, a quick refresh in case.
Yeah, definitely seems to be some
coach shuffling,
some noise about this Jimmy Lake fella. So especially now that Liam's told us he was fighting players, so I want to get in on that.
Love that. Well, gents, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to everyone who watched live as well. There was a ton of you on and off through the night. This has been a feature-length film of a show.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
You could have watched, God knows what you could have watched. You could have watched Die Hard all the way through instead of watching us, but you did not. So you
hashtag not a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie. As we said earlier in the show, Raheem has his primary interview on the 5th of Feb, which is next Monday. I think, next Monday. Yeah, right. So instead of doing the show on a Monday, we'll probably give it a day or so, have a chat with the boys and see when we can do. So we're not, otherwise our show would be running whilst that's running live, kind of defeats the point. Need the topics to talk about. So we will keep you all posted when we can do. We'll try and keep it as close to the breaking news as possible. Thank you all for watching. Mark.
So guys, if you're not already subscribed, especially after probably one of the longest shows we've had for a while, we broadcast on all social media platforms. So we're quite active on Twitter because I refuse to call it X. Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Watch us live on YouTube. And then we also upload this to all podcasting platforms, so Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Love it, and that's what we're here for. Thank you all for watching, and we will be back next week with some more breaking Falcons news, I assume. It's been a pleasure. Better sign off. Hope you all enjoy the Super Bowl. Don't know how you're watching it, where you're watching it, who you're watching it with. Have a good one. And yeah, we'll circle back with a Super Bowl winner and Raheem news next week. Sweet. Thank you very much. Catch you all later. Bye.
See you guys. Thanks.